Hello mentors, this is Olivia Hill, tutor for CDT 424. We've tried very hard to get a meeting time that suits a good group of people and we just can't. So what I've decided to do instead is record the information. I'll be as efficient as possible. I know you're all very busy and hopefully this will update you a little bit on what's going on. So first I'm going to go back to the previous assessments and talk about those. So all the students submitted. Some of them were not yet at a passable standard. So fortunately I was able to give them lots of feedback. So by the time they submit them for marking in October, they should be able to get them to a passable standard. We've realized that PDF format works far better than anything else when they upload, because the new marking system online allows me to annotate directly onto the PDF. Whereas if they send in Word or Pages or something, I've got to download it and annotate it and upload. It's a mess. So I've encouraged them all now to send everything to me in PDF, which is much easier. The other thing a lot of them miss out on is including references. So that's this area that there is training for in the portal, but that's often not well done. So they need a bibliography at the end with all the references listed, and there also should be references throughout the work. So for instance, with an annotation, I did this for this reason, and a reference of where they got that information from. And then the information is also in the bibliography. So that was something I really went over with the students and emphasized. Most of them did a really good job with their lesson plans. They had age-appropriate teaching methods. Some of them do need more specific learning outcomes. What you want to encourage is for them to have learning outcomes that are achievable and measurable for every student in the class. Some of them were very optimistic learning outcomes. We're not going to get everybody doing a perfect flat grand jeté, for instance, in a class, because we're going to have such a variety of bodies and abilities. So you want to encourage them to have learning outcomes that are really realistic within that one class. Things like students will have more understanding of the eye line in the port de bras. So it's very specific, and the words like understanding are very good, because some of them, it may never look amazing, but if they understand better what they're trying to achieve, that's a good learning outcome to have. So we talked a lot about that with the students. The reflection task, some of them were very frustrated with, because we had not been given our word limit originally, and by the time we had, some of them had already submitted it. So I just let them do as much as they wanted, as much length as they wanted for this assessment. But for the next one, I've told them that when they put it in for the final submission, it will need to be cut down to 300 words, the reflection. It actually was very useful that some of them were longer, because it gave me more information about where the student was at. And I think it'll also be useful for them to keep. So I've really encouraged them, not to be discouraged that they did more than they needed to, because it will be useful in the future. The other thing a lot of students missed in that was the annotation section. So they'd have the lesson plan and a reflection on it, but they had not gone back and done those annotations. So because there were really 3 parts to that first submission, they had to do a lesson plan, they had to do a reflection, and they had to go back and annotate the lesson plan and say things like, I chose to use this exercise for this reason. Here's the reference of where I got that information from. So that was the section that was most poorly done from many of the students in this last submission. So I've sent all this information to the students as well, but I just wanted to make sure that it was also articulated to you. I want to talk then a little bit about their next assessment. So for the next one, I asked to create a free exercise, so not part of any syllabus. They write it out, just like in the syllabus books. Then they have a digital resource. So this could be things like a visual image, a short video, an infographic, or a piece of music. So they need a link to it. So if it's a piece of music, they need to show a link to the music. Same with the short video, they might have to upload it and then include the link. If it's a visual image, they should just be able to put in the image into their work, because that will not be huge. So Yes, they'll need the link to it so we can see what it is. Then the third part is they need to write a rationale, which outlines the reason why this resource will enhance their teaching. It's only 300 words, so it's not particularly long. So again, 3 parts. Lesson plan, or exercise plan, sorry, it would be better a way to articulate that. The exercise plan, then the digital resource, the link to whatever that is, and finally the 300-word rationale about their choice of that resource. Now, a couple of questions came up about this, which I wanted to clarify. All 3 things are one single document. They will use one of their solo teaching classes where they'll actually get to evaluate and use the digital resource in practice. Not due till the 21st of July, so we've still got a little bit of time for this. The other question we had, that was an excellent question from one of the students, was because music was one of the suggestions as a digital resource, the students said, but wouldn't there be music anyway for the exercise? Yes, there would. So if they're using music as their choice of digital resource, they'd need 2 lots of music. The music they're actually dancing to in the exercise, and also music that maybe they're using as something to, like, inspiration, or I'll get you some exact wording of that, so you can have a little bit more detail. So it may be like they're using it for pardon me, just trying to get the exact wording. They only need one. And if it's music, it needs to be something that perhaps inspires a certain performance quality, not the music that's just done to the exercise. The exercise is done too. So yeah, just something completely separate. So that's what we're working on this module. The other thing they're asked to do is put in a video of them teaching. So we're very pleased about this, because we were concerned as tutors that we were not going to see a video of them teaching until the final assessment, which did not seem like a good idea at all. So part of our tutorial hours for this second section is a video of them teaching. So they are going to send in a 30-minute max video of them teaching part of a class. They will also need an accompanying lesson plan of that class, because it would not be very useful us providing feedback without seeing their plans. There is the opportunity on Moodle to upload both of those. And that could be teaching anything. It could be teaching any grade, syllabus work, free work, whatever they like. It's literally just for us to get a chance to go, here's their lesson plan, here's them teaching it in practice. What feedback can I give that will help this student with that final assessment, where we have to assess a whole lesson? So those are the 2 things they should be working on at the moment: the assessment for the end of this module, plus the teaching, which the teaching can be recorded at any time and uploaded at any time. That's up to them, and they can choose whatever they think would be most helpful to them to get feedback on. So it may be something they're not as confident on. They might go, I want to do a primary class or a grade 1 class because I'm not as confident with younger children, or vice versa, I'm not as confident with the vocational grades, I'm going to do intermediate. So as long as we get the chance to see them teaching and hear them teaching and look at it with the lesson plan, that's all we need from that. It's not part of the final assessment, so it's not compulsory, but obviously I would advise everyone to do it and make good use of their tutoring hours they have with us, so they can get that feedback and make sure they're really secure before the final assessment, because the final assessment will be putting in the full class, plus putting in what they've done at the end of Unit 1 and Unit 2, all for assessment at the end. So that'll be a big chunk that'll all be assessed there at the same time. And hopefully they will have gone back, applied the feedback I've given for the first one, and will soon do for the second one in July, and then they'll be able to put it in ready to be assessed at the very end. That covers what I spoke about with the students in their last meeting and what I was going to talk about in a Zoom call with all the mentors. Obviously, you haven't had the chance to have the feedback in this, but we just found timing just impossible with mentors. So please do post on the forum or send an email to me with any questions, anything you're concerned about, or anything that's not clear from what I've gone through today. I hope that's been helpful. I will upload this, send it out to you, and look forward to being in contact with you all soon. Thank you for your hard work.